movie. The name of the movie is called Meditation is the Existence. And that is on my respected father, Baba Kundan Singh Bedi. Well, let me explain you a little bit about meditation is the existence. When the baby is born the first time, let me tell you, first time the baby is born, they are in the mother's womb. And as they are in the mother's womb, they are breathing through the placenta. And the baby is formed from woman and a man. And they have a life. And the life is sitting inside. And as the baby has to come out, whatever way it is, as comes out, the first thing baby has to do is breathe. And that breathing has to come within 10 seconds. And that breathing is coming from everywhere from the existence. And the existence is totally in a meditation. And that existence is giving a oxygen to every cell of our body. There are 100 trillion cells. And each cell has 100 trillion atoms. And these atoms are moving so fast that we are becoming energy. And that's why the newborn baby becomes the energy. And baby we call a watcher. That's why I use the word watcher. A watcher is an English word. But really, it's watching. Watch yourself. And that is called in Indian language, dhyan. And that's my father learned. And look, this bird who is speaking, and that's the orchestra, the music of the existence. It is totally orgasmic and it is totally natural. And that's what he learned, became a watcher. And when the baby is born, the first thing, baby is a watcher. A watcher word is the English. But the Indian word where my father learned, and that is called dhyan. D-H-W-A-N, dhyan. D-H-Y-A-N, dhyan. Dhyan means alert. And the compatible word in the English play is called the meditation. But I call it watcher. Watcher is coming from the existence. Because when the first time the baby breath came, it is a life. The baby got life in every cell of the body. And that is the existence is came inside. And that is a watcher. But we are saying watcher with the newborn because he or she is looking. And when they are looking because of the existence. And they have what you call that at that time, only 1% of consciousness. And how the mother handle, father handle, and the baby is laughing, watching. That's why I saw the word called watcher. And that's what my father learned, dhyan. Now, meditation, it is not a concentration. It is not a contemplation. It is not even a mindfulness. It is basically to becoming totally alert, totally alive, total awareness, totally alone. That baby is alone. And total alertness, total being yourself, that's baby. And when the baby get hungry, what he or she want? Milk from the mother. And I know when I was born, and I got the same thing. So you all have to become a watcher and a watcher and a watcher and a watcher. Watcher is always in the present because your body is always in the present. Body is instinct. Body is always in the present. The existence is always in the present. And that's what this baby I'm talking to you, watcher. And the baby become the watcher. And that's what, you don't have to use the word watcher. You basically go in front of a tree, since you have become adult now, and you have lost that being yourself, and you have to get this being back because it was there before with you. It came to you when you were, your mom and dad had a relation. It came through you outside when it came to existence, whole existence went inside of you. and you became the watcher. And that is all called consciousness, because 99% you are not conscious. Now you are an adult, so you want to become being first, and 3 days you can become being first. And that is, go in front of a tree in your home or anywhere, stand there, watch the tree, and watch the tree on top of the tree. When the sun is coming, its leaves are all going up. And that's only give you 1% of consciousness. And a little bit more consciousness goes in between the trees, branches, and then maximum you end up giving 5% of consciousness. Under the tree, the roots is totally unconscious. You don't see that, and that's what you have. As you are totally unconscious, as you have totally become conditioned. And that is going on for millions of years. And don't blame nobody. And you do it for 5 minutes to that tree, just watch. But if you do for 1 hour for 3 days, you will feel being yourself. And in 7 days, you become a brand new, because your whole body, the whole skin, whole outside epidermis changes inside, and you start laughing. Your immune system goes up. And in 3 weeks, your conditioning is totally gone and you become totally unconditional. You become a brand new to yourself, because your totally old mind is gone. You become brand new to yourself. And that's what my father happened. And I'm talking to you, he was born on 27th of April, 1914. And 1941, I say December of 24th, and he was getting married that day. And he went 1 week to learn, where he learned from Dera Baba Nanak, from the disciples of Baba Sri Chand, who knew about existence, that we have, our whole body belongs to existence. And he learned for 1 week. And on 24th of December of 1941, he was getting married. And the guy come from that place where he taught him for 1 week to become total dhyan, D-H-Y-A-N, dhyan. And I told you before, it is not a concentration or a contemplation. It is not even a meditation. It is not even a what you call a mindfulness, but it is a real meditation, and that is called dhyan, D-H-Y-A-N, dhyan. He basically looking. They taught my father how to just look, become a watcher, alert, alive to yourself. Daytime, look at the sun, look in the moon, in the evening. And they just taught him to do for 7 days, just to go in front of a tree. And he became totally, the old mind is gone, the conditioned mind is gone. And that's what you all have to do that. So 24th, the priest come in. After that, the women give him a bath, wash his hair, wash his body, do all the ceremonies. And then he says something in the ear. And he says, my papa told me, he told me that remember, the whole existence belongs to you. The whole body is all existence, and you are the watcher. And my father got so excited, so upset, and he decided he don't want to marry. And he broke the door, he ran away. And then they have to teach him again all over, because they say you are the only one who graduated in when these British are ruling. You are the only one. There are 8 children. You are the only graduate. That is a bachelor degree of art. And you have to go in this world and show people how to live consciously. And so he come back after learning, and the guy who was a teacher, he was about 75 years of age, beautiful looking, long hairs. And I tell you, I met this guy because I know when I was living in New Delhi, that was, I would say, when I was in first year of medical school. That was 1961. And he was that time 80 years old. Anyhow, my father learned that the life is given to you free. And the body is a heap of food, and the mind is a heap of impression. And I was born in December 1942, practically after a year. And that was, you're talking about 1942. There was no partition. All was one country. There were different kind of people. The Hindu, the Muslim, the Sikh, the Isais, the Christian, they all living together happily. They were totally unconditional consciousness, basically, mostly, because people used to go to their temple. My father goes to his temple, whichever way it is, and they all respect each other. So when it come 1946, the Muslim people came to our home. I was 4 years old, and they told my father, pack your luggage because this country is going to be divided. And British are doing that. We don't know what's going to happen. You should pack your luggage and tonight you leave. So it was, my brother was 2 years old and I was 4 years old. It was 1946. I would say it was February of 1946 at night, 10 o'clock. And they took us to the train and we came by the train. And we came to Amritsar. It was 7 o'clock in the morning and I was very hungry. So I told my father, Papa, I'm hungry. Could you get me some food? So he says, I will go and get the food. And as he comes back, my mother, he was crying. And he says, why are you crying? He says, whatever suitcase we had, the guy took it. My papa said, do not worry. Just become a watcher. Watch. He may need more than what you need. He took it, that's good. He didn't hurt you. I'm very thankful to them. I ate my little bit food what my father brought, and he brought some puris, which is puffed, made from a flour and some chickpeas. And I remember that. I ate that. Finally, we have reached to New Delhi, India. And my father got a place, and the address of that place was 2nd K 103, Lajpat Nagar, New Delhi. And I tell you, there I was raised, and my father had all the other 3 children. That is 2 more brothers and my sister, the youngest one. And I tell you, it was so beautiful because my father will never yell at me. I go to school, and school was, I would say, about 400, 500 yards away from our home. And I go there, and before lunch, I come home. My father has already gone to the office. And I go to tell my mama that I don't want to go to school. I need to go pee-pee and poo-poo. And I'm doing it in the yard outside because we had no latrine. We were taking bath outside. And then she will take me to the store and buy the food. And my father never calculated the money. He go and put in the prayer room. And my mother takes the money and we go to the store and get the food. And I tell you, it was age of 15. And that is, my father saw me. I lost all my weight. I became 85 pounds. And he took me to a doctor. That was in New Delhi, India. And the doctor says, your son has typhoid fever and he will die. So my father comes home. And at that time, my father goes and do his prayer. And he was totally conscious. He was just a watcher. And he looked at me and gave me a hug. Come and did his prayer and gave me a hug. He says, I am inside your body. You are not going to die. And I'm not going to go to the office. And I'm going to stay with you. So you get all better in 3 days. And my father told my mother, go and buy the oranges. At that time, there are special oranges which you get from the store. And he has to squeeze with his hand because there's a small, what you call a squeezer, which we could buy it. And he squeezed and he gave me orange juice with his own intellect, because he was totally conscious. It was all his intuition, because he was totally enlightened. And I tell you, in 3 days, I'm getting hungry. And then he asked me, what do I want to eat? And my mom gave me, I told my mom I need some vegetable dal. We call it dal, which we made from pulses. It becomes a soup. So she gave me on the top of that, and she make a bread for me. And that bread is puffed up bread, because we had no fire. She has to burn the coal, and that puffed bread, she gave me a thin part of that, and I ate that. And in a week, I got all better. It was amazing. And I tell you, then my father always loved me in that way, because he never tell me what to do. I go to shopping, I go to stores, buy food, all this stuff. Now I'm ready to graduate. And I tell you, my brother was also with me. Unfortunately, at that time, it was a high school. And now we have a 12th grade and so on, but at that time only high school. And I could not pass. So my father says to my mother, don't worry, go and put him in another school. And I went there and I studied with it was a school which was about 5 boys and 8 girls. It was called the Khalsa School in Lajpat Nagar. And I was running like a yo-yo. And I was talking to everybody, and I graduated. And then I went to pre-medical. And my papa never said me anything. Now I need to go pass exam to get to the medical college. So my brother was the first. He got into the medical college. I had to pass exam, special exam, which was called the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I have to pass the exam. I passed the exam, and I got the admission. And then, at that time, they wanted that I should stay in a hotel. My papa had no money. He says, let's wait. So I got the admission in the same place where my brother got it. That is called Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi, India. It is in Daryaganj. It is still there. And I tell you, my father had no money to pay for that. So he sent my mother to her sister, who was very rich, living in an elite place, and told her that, look, I give you all my jewelry, you give money so that my son can go to school, go to college, in the medical college. She did not give it. She said, okay. She went to her husband, he refused. And then my father, that weekend, he goes to Baba Sri Chand's Gurdwara. And as he coming out, because my father had a black hair and other guy was a white hair, he comes in, he has a bundle of what you call a cloth wrapped up, and they give him, and he run away. And my father ran behind him, he could not find him. So my father took that money, came on a bicycle, come home, and put in the prayer room, and told my mom, and she opened it. It was 400 rupees, and that was the exact fees. And he gave the fee, and I ended up to the medical college. And I tell you, it was a blessing, because my father was always watcher. He never talked. And that was so beautiful. It's amazing. And then 1963, we were in medical college. And I tell you, we had a guy who was called the Flying Sikh, who won every race. 400 meter, he was a champion. He went 100 meter, 200, 400, and I used to run in my medical college. And I met him in 1963 at the stadium in New Delhi. It is called the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. I used to run there. And he lost the race. He won all the race. But when he went to the Olympic, He lost because he was the fourth one, but he just looked behind. And I say, Milkha Singh, you lost it because you're looking behind. And you won the race in the Pakistan because you were not looking, because you were a flying. That's why the guy called you a flying Sikh, because you were running, you were flying. That's what he said, right? He says, you're right. I said, you should never look back, because that's what the existence is. I said, that's my Papa learned it, and that's my Papa told me. But I'm keep learning, Finally, 1966, we passed the exam, we passed our medical school, and now we have to go to the United States. And I tell you, when we came to United States, we had no money. They have to send me the ticket to come to Detroit. In 1967, I came with my brother, and we left from New Delhi. And at that time, we had no cell phone. We were calling on the line, and Papa has to come and talk to us, and it usually take him about 5 minutes, and we have to hold it. And now we got a phone, cell phone, and that's why all of you should become a watcher and a watcher and a watcher and a watcher. In 1970, my father came here, and I used to wear a turban. I became a clean shave, and I was practicing in Onaway, Michigan. So I started practicing in Onaway, Michigan. There was only 1,100 people. The first day I entered it, and I was with Dr. Finch, who was about 60 years of age. And you know, the lady called him and says, I'm going to have a baby today. She says, I don't want to get myself delivered at home. I want to deliver at home. I don't want to come to the hospital. He says, you have to come to the hospital. I have to give you epidural. So I was listening to him. I said, Dr. Finch, you know, I just started a week there. Went to their hospital and took the staff. And I said, look, I go and deliver it. He says, fine. So I called the ambulance. I went their home. Her name was Judy, and the husband's name was John. I told the ambulance people to stay outside, and I go inside. And I was totally clean shaved. And I tell you, I go inside. I say, John, I need your help. Judy, I need your help. And you're going to have a baby at home. Don't worry. I delivered many babies in India, and I will deliver you today. She looked and she laughed. I said, you sit at the edge of the bed. She sat on the edge of the bed and put the legs there, just here on the side, just like in the lithotomy position. And I told John, do me a favor, man. Go to the kitchen and get the biggest pot which you have. So he found a big pot. I said, heat the water. He heated the water so hot. I said, bring it in, bring the water, and we put under the table that bed. And you can see that then I lift it up a little bit up, and I say, John, you hold her one hand, other hand you put on the belly where the baby is coming. I said, we don't know whether the boy and a girl, right? He says, yes, you're right. I said, just put your hand and just keep massaging and hold her one hand with the left hand, the right hand, you just massage it. And he started doing it. I said, and I told Judy, just listen to your husband. You both had this baby, live baby, and baby will come, the placenta will come, and don't worry, it will come. You just stay there, and I will do all the stuff. And I just raise the water up, and she starts sweating the bottom. The whole, what you call the outside of her womb, that is labia majora and all that stuff, pelvis and all that stuff, start dilating, and the baby comes out. And I hold the baby in the hand, and then the placenta comes out, and I cut the placenta. I took the placenta, came out, and I cut the baby from the placenta. So I hold the baby, I turn it upside down, and the baby breathed. And immediately, all the cells got the oxygen, and the babies started crying. And that was so beautiful. I turned it upside, it's a straight head, and I can see all the baby become all red. All the 100 trillion cells got the oxygen, and every cell also got atom is there, which breaks into the electron, proton. They got all the oxygen, and I gave to the mama, and they both were hold the baby, and they were so, and the baby was laughing, and they were laughing. And that's what a life is. You become a watcher. You become a life. A life is, that's what given to us. That is a baby, the total watcher. And that's what I'm telling you, English word. He was looking. That was a boy. And they were happy. And they can see. They say, are you going to do a circumcision? I said, no, you don't do a circumcision. They say, what the heck is you talking about? I say, because that thing which is given in front of the penis is a prepuce, we call it. It is for the protection. Only thing we have to do, retract it back, make sure we clean out every day. And that's all we need. But they were so happy. He said, God, I got circumcised. I said, but whatever happened, don't worry about the past. I'm talking about this baby. So anyhow, we delivered the baby, we got the new baby. And I took the ambulance, I came back to the office, came back to the office and went to my home. And the Finch says, what the heck happened? I say, look, baby is delivered. Everything is okay. I go see tomorrow. In 3 days, baby is normal, everybody's happy. And that was beautiful. And that, I tell you, in that town, that you're talking 1970 in Onaway, Michigan, only 1,000 people, 18-bed hospital. And I was treating people with heart attacks at home. I go to people's home, they call me, I got a chest pain. I say, okay, John, I'm coming. I go there and I see a John, he got a chest pain, he's sweating, he's 45 years of age, he's fat and heavy. I took his blood pressure, pulse. I say, look, you got a heart attack, man, but I'm gonna keep you home and with your wife, Michelle, and you have a one baby, that's great. It's okay, you're gonna be totally healed. And I tell you, I say, today you're going to drink just the apple juice. Just like in the ICU, they give apple juice. And that's what I used to do in India, to take an apple juice today. And just do whatever your body allows you. Go to the bathroom, do whatever you want to do, but do not exert yourself. And you know, he asked me, are you going to bill to the insurance company? I said, no, man, there's nothing to bill with insurance company. He said, can I give you some money? I said, whatever you want to give me. He used to give me $25. I said, that's enough. check of $25. I go next day, take the blood pressure and the pulse and listen to his heart and talk to him, hold his hand, hold his wife's hand and say, how you doing? I said, one day more you take apple juice. He gave me another $25 and I come back, go back to the office and I go back third day. And third day, look at me, he's laughing and he's happy. He's walking all around. I said, no, you can eat a little bit food, but eat more vegetables, more fruit, less meat as possible, you know. But I was not telling anybody that you should cut down sugar or the salt or whatever. But later on, in that year, 1970, my father came to United States and he came to visit in Onaway, Michigan. And I tell you, I told Papa, I have got a lady who is from United States. She's a Christian and I want to marry her. He said, no problem. She come and stay with me, come Detroit. And he said, make sure her mother is gone. So make sure bring her father to India, get married there. I said, no problem. So my brother was practicing in what you call Kalkaska. And my brother says, let's go to Disney World. So we went to Disney World 1970, just opened. And we stayed in a contemporary hotel. My father was wearing a turban. And we were totally clean shape, both of us. And we stayed for a week and we enjoyed that. It was so beautiful. No traffic much. It was fantastic, Disney World. And then we decided that we want to move to Florida. So then I went to 1973, I went to my home where my father was living, 2nd K 103, Lajpat Nagar, New Delhi. And me and my wife, and I took my father-in-law and we got married. And 1973, I was moved to another town called the Sheboygan, Michigan. And my brother also moved there. And that's where my daughter was born, who is now a doctor. And that was August 12th, 1973. And when I tapped my daughter, she breathed, all the oxygen come in, and I gave her to my wife, Patricia, and they were all laughing. And that is all watcher. And you should watch that all the time, become a watcher to yourself. And that's main object is that you become a watcher to yourself. Whether you are walking, whether you are eating, whether you are sleeping, just become a watcher and a watcher and a watcher. Whatever you're doing, you can do 24 hours a day, and that is a meditation. And you become more and more conscious because you're only conditioned. You want to become 100% conscious, and you have to practice every day the watcher, the watcher. And this way, you become totally conscious one day, because I know now I'm totally conscious because I've gone through the trees and I'm totally enlightened and I'm so happy. And I tell you, every day, a new door opens. And I see my friend sitting in front of me who is making a video. And I tell you, he's smiling and he's happy. His wife, his children, and they all are doing meditation. That is watcher, 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 becoming conscious, 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 because the whole existence is totally conscious and totally in a meditation. So it was 1974. My father moved from New Delhi, India, to Zephyr Hill, Florida, a small town where I was just starting my practice. And he moved later on in a new home, and that was on Forking Highway, a beautiful home. And my father had his own room where he does his prayers. He brought his prayer book, and he has his own sleeping room, and my mother has her own sleeping room. And at that time, we had two children, the oldest daughter and the second daughter. And my second daughter, she was taking care of my mother. And she's so beautiful. My mother massaged her every day. And she said, "This is my daughter." And I tell you, she's the one who's totally awake now. And she has a one baby. My oldest daughter is slightly awake. She's also awake. And then she has two children, 13 and 15. They're both awake. They understand all the conditioning. And I tell you, then in 1977, I was in practice in Zephyr Hill, Florida. And my father calls me. He says, "I can't breathe." He had a little high blood pressure. And you know, I learned all that intellectual knowledge, the doctory, and I was doing the same thing what every doctor does. And when my father called me, it was about 2 o'clock. He says, "I can't breathe." I told the girl, "Close the office, I'm going." I go there and I see my papa could not breathe. And I listened to his chest. His lungs are totally congested. I gave him an IV intravenous Lasix, one injection, 40 milligram. And he started diuresing and he started breathing better. And it was about 3 o'clock. He said, "I can breathe much better," because he went about 4 times into the bathroom and he could breathe better. I said, "Listen," I listened to his heart. I said, "Papa, I need to take you to another doctor." So I took him to Dr. Hakim, who is from Pakistan, beautiful soul, who used to come to us, who lives in Plant City. He was a cardiothoracic surgeon. And I went to home and he looked at him and he examined him and he says, "Hey, your father had aortic valve stenosis." Well, how the heck I know? Because I'm a family practitioner and also did a urology and general surgery and so on. He says, "Look, your father needed an operation. So I'm going to send you to another doctor. That is, go tomorrow, the next day." That is, we went to Tampa General Hospital, Dr. Vijay. And we went there. And he looked at and he did a cardiac cath. And when he did a cardiac cath, the machine was very old. You're talking about 1977. They did not have sophisticated machines, and they were only running on the what you call little thread, what you call the pipe, whatever that is. And he says, man, he has a 90% obstruction in his valve, aortic valve, but all his arteries are open. I don't believe it. What is that is? So he says, he's probably going to die. I said, Dr. Vijay, he's going to die anyway. Let's operate. So finally, God bless, he agreed and he operated on my papa. But he says, you have to sleep in the ICU one day because we're going to keep a 3 days endotracheal tube. He did the operation. I watched it. And there was another beautiful doctor, Dr. Eckstein, who helped him. I put a little high valve, and my father survived the operating room. And then he put an endotracheal tube, and now he's sleeping. And that night I slept there. 4 o'clock, my father woke up, and he says, I can't breathe. I knew my father was a yogi, so I looked at him. He could not breathe, so I have to deflate that endotracheal tube because I was the craziest guy to any chance because I was a surgeon. So I know what to do. So I took that tube out and he started breathing and he sat down and he was happy. He said, I want him to take me home because he was living in the present. He was a watcher. So when 9 o'clock, Dr. Vijay comes in and the nurses make a round, they see my papa sitting and papa says, I want to go home. Vijay says, what the heck is going on? He got so scared. So finally he agreed. The second day, my papa came home. And he was taking at that time 17 pills a day. A heart pill, blood pressure pill, all kind of crazy things. 17 pills a day. Then in that month of August, he knew that my third baby, that my son, because we had the ultrasound, we knew that the son is going to be born. And naturally, he was born. And Papa was so happy. Naturally, he was taking 17 pills. And then my brother come and see me. All my brothers, 3 brothers, my sister came. Anyhow, then my brother, we had a ceremony for my son. And it was beautiful. And tell you, that was, you're talking a month after his birth. And he had the ceremonies in that house. It was so beautiful. Then 78, my father wanted my brother to get married. So he took my fourth brother actually to get married. And my son became his disciple, whatever you call it, because he has to ride on a horse at our home in Lajpat Nagar, and he holding my son, because that's what the tradition or fashion or whatever you call it, and that's a whole movie made on my brother, and my father is doing all the prayers, and it was so beautiful. And then in 79, I met a doctor in Clearwater, Florida, Dr. Sodi Polaris. And I tell you, he was reading electrocardiogram. Amazing. Dr. Marriott was living. He's now dead. And Dr. Sodi Polaris is dead also. And Dr. Marriott put an EKG of a 59-year-old gentleman who had an anterior myocardial infarction. And he said, this man has an anterior myocardial infarction. And the third day, he got a ventricular aneurysm and he drops dead. I said, how does he read his electrocardiogram? It's amazing. Then Marriott put another electrocardiogram of a 4-year-old baby who had a fallet tetralogy, the abnormality of the heart. And that's, Dr. Sodi Polaris goes there. He says, this looks like an electrocardiogram of a 4-year-old baby and has a fallet tetralogy. And now the doctor has operated and looks like his valves are all working and looks like a baby is healthy. The electrocardiogram is normal. So it was 5 o'clock in the evening Clearwater, Florida, 1979, and I go to Dr. Sodi Polaris. I say to him, my father is taking 17 pills, man. Can you help me? He said, I have to leave tonight. So why don't you get my book? So I got his book called The Ischemic Heart Disease and a Polarizing Treatment. I read the book, the first chapter. He's talking about a ventricle. And he said the ventricle, the endocardium get damaged because of eating too much salt, too much sugar, too much oil. And he was doing a polarizing therapy. So in January of 1980, he sent a letter that there's a meeting in Mexico City. So I told my wife, I told my father, and I said, I'm going there. So we went for a week, Dr. Sodi Polaris. And I tell you, it was so amazing. He brought a man who was 30 years old, who had a heart attack, and who was climbing mountain. Then he brought a 40-year-old man who had a heart attack about 20 years ago, and they were climbing mountains. It was amazing. He says because it is all polarizing treatment. It's because of the low sodium, high potassium diet. That means give no sugar, no oil, but no salt, and give a polarizing treatment IV. Then he tell them most to take by mouth, you eat all the vegetables, all the fruit, but no salt, no sugar, and no oil. And these people have been living 30 years, 40 years, amazing. And I told him, Dr. Sodi Polaris, I need to get my father off the medication. So I learned all the stuff. And I started learning how to read the electrocardiogram in a better way, which I didn't knew that. It was amazing. It was amazing. I come home and I'm calling Dr. Sodi Polaris practically every day. And I tell you, in 1 month, we took all the medications away, except he was taking Lanoxin 0.125 every day, except Sunday, and a Coumadin 5 milligram one day and 7.5 milligram the next day. And he practically take all that every day the rest of his life. It was amazing that he was walking 1 mile a day. He was carrying my oldest daughter. He was walking in the yard every day in Zephyr Hill. Again, he lived always in the present. He was a watcher. He did not say nothing. He cleaned all home, myself, himself. It's amazing. One day, I tell you, I used to get all the money on Friday, go to the bank, I take about $4,000 to $5,000 cash and give him. And he put in the prayer room and he give to my wife. He said, he tell my wife, go and get what you want and go and do what you want to do. He never counted. So one day, the lady gave me about $7,000. I never count myself. I come home and the Monday she comes into the office, she says, can you check it? I may have given you some more money or not. I'm not sure. I know you did not count it. I said, look, you go to the home and tell my father. She drove there and she come to the home and she says to my father, you know, I gave you an envelope. He brought the envelope to you. Which envelope is that? So my father brought it. He said, go count it. And she counted it. It was $7,000. He says, okay, that 5,000 belongs to us. You leave, put it in my bag and take the 2,000. Now my father never told me, but when I come home, he says, she took 2,000. I said, Papa, that's great. So next day she come to the office and she says, I want to work for you. And she quit her job in 2 weeks and started working for me. I trained her as a medical assistant. At that time, there was no training. We have to train ourselves. So it was amazing. And you're talking about, that is 80s, 80, 81, something like that. I'm not sure what they are, but whatever they are. And we have all I used to do chelation therapy. I used to treat all the people with a heart disease, diabetes, cancer, with diet, exercise. I didn't know much about what you call awakening, 100%. But I saw my father, how he was doing, but I kept couple of it. I learned a little bit. I keep learning every second. I keep learning. And I tell you, it was amazing. I have to go through all kind of crazy things in my life because of this, my self-conditioning. Because the intellectual mind was totally conditioned. But at the same time, I was becoming conscious and conscious. I was learning every day from my father. He said, do not worry. My brother used to practice with me. He says, okay, each one have to do your own. But anyhow, whatever happened, I just survived. And I want to share with you that in 90, I think it was 94, 95, I want to share with you what happened to my father and how did we go further. 24th of December, 1981, my father had an anniversary, 40th year, 40 year he was married. Beautiful pictures. And Dr. Vijay came, my brother was there, and my all brothers were there, and their wives were there. It was beautiful. And I tell you, my father was very happy, my mother was very happy. It was a beautiful day. And I thank you very much. And it was my father was just a simple watcher, and a watcher, and a watcher. And he's smiling because of this life. It was 1995, June. I say end of May. My father, I was there, and I had a company where I was placing doctors to getting them jobs who come from India, Pakistan, Philippines, Bangladesh. And I tell you, I made their, what I do, I changed their CV. I gave them American name. And that's how my name is now is called Steve Bedi. My actual name is Surinder Bedi. The real name is Steve. The real name is Surinder Bedi. But they call me Steve Bedi. And that's how I got, because I started giving them a nickname. Because they were all Indian American. They were Indians, Philippines, they were Pakistani, or from Bangladesh, or from wherever country they are, they had a different kind of name. And I start giving them a nickname, the American name, and I change their CV, and I start getting them jobs. I got probably hundreds of people to get them a jobs. But nobody understood what the heck I was doing. Anyhow, so my father in the last week in May got sick. So I called my brother, who was in practice in Zephyr Hill, Florida, and he's still in practice. And I told him, I said, would you, my Papa is not feeling good, and he don't want to go to the hospital naturally, so would you take care of him? My brother, who is a very smart doctor, he's well educated, and he's a God-gifted person, a beautiful soul. So he came and took my Papa, and he gave me IV fluids and so on, so Papa got better. And my mother was with him. And his father, my brother's father-in-law, was living in the same town. They were all together, they were all happy living, and they were all smiling and living happily. But on 2nd of June, my father says, I have to go to the meeting. So you come and get Papa to your home. So I went there, and I tell you, we had a dinner together, and Papa says, I want to go back. I brought him back to Clearwater, Florida. And he was sleeping upstairs. So when he coming home, he said he need to go to the bathroom. I took him to McDonald's in Tampa. He went to the bathroom, and he sat in the back. My mother was always sitting in the front, and my wife never went with me because she has all the kids. And we come home, and that was on Belchery Spring in Clearwater. And I tell you, my father took his turban off, took his prayer, went to the prayer room, did his prayer, washed himself. Then I took him upstairs. As I took him upstairs, on the last step he get out, he said, Sindar, I want to sit down. And he sat down and looked at me. He says, I'm going. And you are going to become awake, I can tell you, but it's going to take time. Don't worry about it. But just keep doing it, what you're doing. Just take care of your children and stay happy and healthy. And I did a CPR on him, and my son, who was visiting from the college, and he looked at me and he said, Papa is smiling. And I was doing a CPR. And that's what my father was. He was a living angel. And he was a watcher, like a baby. He knew the life will go away. And the life, on the 3rd of June, we got a sign from the hospital that he died from cardiac problem, whatsoever it is. But he died. Whichever way it happened, I'm thankful that he went to the existence. And then now I see my grandson, who's 15 years of old, and I see my papa inside of that. And he's totally awake. So my father died on 3rd of June, 1995. And I'm thankful to you. And I want to tell you, all of you, please become a watcher to yourself. And that will give you called the meditation in existence. And you should always go to the tree next to you and watch the tree. In 3 days, you will become being yourself. And in 7 days, you will have total immune system in your body and you will become totally healthy. And if you change your diet, that means no eat canned food. All food is fresh and vegetable, and all the fruit, no milk product, and you also eat no salt, no sugar, no oil, as less as meat as possible. And I tell you, in 4 or 5 weeks, you can be off all your medications. You can become a brand new. You don't have to pay anybody. But I tell you, we are also going to teach you unconditional consciousness, where you can heal your whole body and you become a brand new. And I want to share with you the book called The Cancer Cure Yourself Through Unconditional Consciousness. And you can look at that book free of charge. Go to rejuvenexfamilyfarm@gmail.com and get that book. And also you can call us 727-686-3489. You can also come to our farm. That is 6741 Bee Ridge Road, Sarasota, Florida. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have a meeting from 11 o'clock to 11:45. And you read this chapter number 30, and you work with your family doctor, and you come here, and we will help you to become totally unconditional consciousness. And we will always work with your doctor. I wish you all a happy day. God bless. Namaste. Amen.